David Bailey, the second overall pick made by the Jets in 2026, has shown flashes of great potential in camp. But does that actually show up on the tape when we look at the game film? Yes, we all know he got that sack on third down against Broderick Jones, but there's so many other little things he's doing that give me so much hope about this prospect. I'm not saying he's going to come out the gates and have a 10-sack season, but I think what we see in his 12 snaps here on the field against the Steelers should give us hope for a future, should give us at least a little bit of an indication of how he's going to be used and why the reports we're hearing out of camp aren't overblown. David Bailey lined up here in front of Dylan Cook. Now, Max Ihonicher is not in. Later, we're going to see Broderick Jones in this spot. This right tackle spot has been a bit of a turnstile for the Steelers, so keep that in mind, like a little grain of salt to recognize that he's not going against elite line play right now. But let's take a look at what he does. As the play begins, you're going to see we line up here. He's this edge with a safety down right here also. We're going to see the safeties all over the place here for the Jets. As the play begins, we're going to see a big step inside. Right away, he's going to take on this double team. We've got a blitzer on the outside being blocked by Darrell Washington, who might be the best blocking tight end in all of football. He's an absolute monster. You can't move him. But look at David Bailey take on this double team, stand his ground, and look at all the space that the linebackers Sherwood and Davis are going to have to play in. This play right here gives us hope that the power we see from Bailey on downs like this means he can be a 3-down player. He's the one who set the edge, didn't allow the double team to get off and up to the second level. Huge. That's a massive play on first down. I mean, if you can hold them to 1 and 2 yards on first down, even 3 yards, it sets you up so well for your future plays. So let's look at second down. They're going to put in motion, and David Bailey is going to have to now set the edge and keep everything inside. What they want to do is to get him kicked out so that they can create a lane inside. Now, I don't necessarily love the technique 100% here because with a shiftier running back, he might be able to still get around this, but he at least, his quickness surprises this tight end. David Bailey is going to go inside, outside on him. I almost just wish he get in there and just blow it all up. But this speed here, swim move, right past him, pulling guard, nothing to do. We already have the hole plugged. Demario Davis reads it right away. And now, because the hole is plugged with Demario Davis, and we got to play in the backfield, really solid, really well done. And now we're going to see a pass rush on third down. Wide on the top, again, now on the right tackle, and he's going to be able to get basically everything he wants on these right tackles all day long. He's not going to make the play, but watch the bull rush, puts the tackle in the lap. It's a pretty good play blocking, honestly, here from the Steelers. It's not the best pass rush. Might have been picked. Wasn't a really well-timed ball from Will Howard. I will say that's probably a completed pass if you have Aaron Rodgers in there. But David Bailey getting up in the tackle, getting his force and power. This was more of a bull rush than a speed. We'll see his speed here in a moment. Just puts his shoulder down and tries to drive through. Decent, right? With the way he played on first and second down, I'll take that. Not every rep is going to be, oh my goodness, explosion. Now, let's go to the next series. Here it is. Pass play, just gets underneath and around Broderick Jones and is going to make the throw from Will Howard have to come pretty quick. He's getting a hand there. Will Howard doesn't have a ton of time. If we rewind it and watch it again, just count it out. From the moment the ball is snapped, David Bailey's in the backfield, and he didn't even get a great jump, and he still is getting right past him. Now, it was a completed pass, an on-time throw, and those are going to happen. Here's why I know the previous down, the coaches were watching that and all of a sudden going, oh, we got to double. We got to chip with the back. We're going to see a play-action play here, and they're going to double David Bailey. They're going to chip with the running back because they know this is where the pressure is coming from. So when the play develops, he's going to read, he's going to see, oh man, it's a run. I have responsibility here. but it's not a run. It was a good play action. And now once the play action goes, it's a release here from Washington, and they're going to chip here. I'm not quite sure why the running back wouldn't chip where the release came from, but they're basically looking for David Bailey. Running back realizes, I've got nothing. It's a rollout. David Bailey really can't get there, but you can see the design was there. It's a quick rollout. It's going to look a lot like what the Jets did to get a touchdown with Jelani Woods, except we've got it covered here, and it's a good play. He doesn't quite get both feet in bounds, so it's still incomplete. So then on second down, we're going to get a run play to the opposite side, but watch David Bailey on the backside. The backside is so important. You can't overcommit, because if they start to see that on film, then you're going to get countered. You're going to get misdirected. You're going to get a play action screen pass type of thing. Play callers will see that and come out the next series and really take advantage. Third and long, and now we're going to get a chance to see the real pass rush capabilities of David Bailey. Let's take a look. At the snap of the ball, David Bailey and really the line got a great jump. There's a lot of space between him and Broderick Jones, but watch how he closes down that space, dips the shoulder with power, and drives the bigger and stronger Broderick Jones basically back into the lap of Will Howard, and Howard has no option. He has nowhere to go. So as I was editing, I saw this. I had to point it out. So David Bailey saved a touchdown, I think. I don't think the coverage was as good on this play as I originally thought. When you look at the seam, I think that was his first read, and the seam is open, and so the safety has to shift over to cover the seam, leaving the open receiver down at the bottom, who is also behind our corner. And if Will Howard had time to step up in the pocket, I think this play actually is a touchdown. Take a look at it from the other angle. It'll really show what David Bailey is capable of here. Broderick Jones checking in. He's going to try to get off. He even jumps a little early to try to beat him, and it doesn't work. He's beat immediately off the ball. But take a closer look. Take a closer look at the hand fighting. David Bailey gets into Broderick Jones right away, right? Broderick Jones can't get his hands on him. Right away, he's in. He's lost the advantage. When we watch Membu, and when Membu plays, what do we see? We see long extension, keeping the pass rushers at bay. It's why the long arms are so essential for tackles, because once a pass rusher gets inside like that and is able to close that distance, and that's the first step get off that Bailey has. He closes that distance with the tackle so quickly that if your hands aren't on him immediately, you're in trouble. Because once you're at this point, there's nothing you can do. He can use your leverage against you. As you're leaning into him, he can shift his body weight and drop that shoulder, which then will mean that Broderick Jones will be off balance, and the only thing he can do is reach out and grab. So I'm surprised there wasn't a holding call on top of this, because he's just hooked underneath his chest right there. Broderick Jones has nothing to do. Bailey is able to get on him, hold on, and keep the sack. And the thing I actually love most about this play, what does David Bailey do? He doesn't do a huge celebration. He doesn't make a giant big deal of this. It's a sack in a preseason game. And he just gets up like this is what he does. So after a few plays off of the field, David Bailey is back on. The ball has crossed the 50, and let's pick it up back there. Again, I think the play action here for Bailey is maybe a little bit of what slowed him down on his initial step. You could see he's not really going to make an impact on the play here. He's going to try to dip down below, chop at the hands, but he realizes he doesn't actually have an angle, and that's going to happen on a lot more pass rushes than we realize. But that's why there's other players on the field, because there's great coverage here by Zaire Thomas, and it leads now to a second down. Okay, and this second down run is why I have so much hope, not just for David Bailey, but this defensive line as a whole. We're going to see this run play get blown up, but it's really the second angle that you got to see the coaching, I think, of Aaron Glenn and this defensive line, particularly, and Dunbar, of how they're going to play the run this year. You already saw it on film, so you know what's going to happen. Here it is. Darrell Washington goes in motion, and we pause it right here. We're going to see every gap is completely taken. We have contain out here by Will McDonald. Dowdle is immediately going to cut. It might have been designed to go that way, but you can see David Bailey here has blown up the tight end into the backfield. I think there's going to be a lot of challenge of blocking him as a defensive end with a tight end. I don't think it's going to work very well. Bailey blows it up, and it's this gap integrity. There's nowhere for this run to go. Even if it had good blocking, the linebackers are in perfect position to make the play, and now they can just go downhill, make the play. Meanwhile, David Bailey's on the ground. Why? Because he got held again. I think he is going to draw so many penalties even when he's not making the play, especially on tight ends, especially on right tackles who aren't quite as fast. Now, I think more athletic right tackles are going to be able to fare much better against David Bailey, but that first step get off, it's real. And it's surprising a lot of these players. If you're enjoying this content, a bunch of you really enjoyed my latest video. And if you haven't seen that, you can check the link in the description for that. But if you're enjoying this type of content, hit that like button. Let me know what you'd like me to break down next as we're looking at some of this game film. I can't wait for actual games to start. We're going to get there soon. But let's continue this next step for David Bailey. And this is where I think there's a lot of growth that needs to happen. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here it is. He's now dropping in pass coverage. He's got a zone, and I don't know if this is lack of communication. I think it's just going to be more lack of awareness. And right here is where he needs to settle more central. His eyes get drawn by this coverage right here, but that's already covered. He doesn't need to be there. He needs to be at the hashes. He needs to be more central. He gets pulled out wide, and it creates an easy throwing lane for what's going to come in right behind him, as it's a good read by the quarterback, a step up. Again, if he's just a little more central, there's nowhere for this ball to go, and it's actually a sack, a coverage sack, or an interception for David Bailey. But instead, it's thrown to the hashes. It's a little bit easier of a throw, and I think his coverage has some growing to do. He didn't drop in coverage any other times than this, so I think when he does it, it's going to be few and far between. But I think it can be a weapon if coached properly and if there's better communication about where he needs to be from the guys around him. Now, so in this next play, David Bailey is lined up outside the tight end, and you're going to see what happens. I think it's going to happen a lot to a rookie player. He gets stuck inside. He's supposed to come downfield a little bit more, but this is where his lateral movement, he tries to shed laterally inside, and he loses contain. But look what happens next. He readjusts and is held right off the line. You can even see his jersey be pulled. I can't believe they didn't call that hold. Yes, it may not have impacted his movement, but when the jersey gets pulled like that, again, I think his speed to adjust was good. This is where our safeties actually tackling matters. This is where Minkah Fitzpatrick, Dane Belton, Cisco are going to be so important to this defense, because a run like this last year is going to be 10, 15 yards, maybe more. This year, even with the loss of contain, not a great rep from David Bailey. We have a corner getting in there, safety getting in there, linebacker getting there. Like, they're flying to the ball. Sherwood's right there. I think it's a good play, even in spite of it not being a great rep for David Bailey. And now, again, next down, how does he do it differently? This time he sets the edge, right? He doesn't make the same mistake twice. He's not shooting inside. He's not losing contain. He's setting the edge, and the defensive linemen are holding the line of scrimmage, which makes it so much easier for Demario Davis, for the safeties, for everyone else to make the play. And that's what we see here, especially when let's take a look at the second view. Right here, you're going to see David Bailey set the edge. You're going to see Briggs and Phillips. Phillips drives his guy backwards, doesn't lose a single step, and it allows the linebackers. You have Davis getting there in the line, Briggs getting getting a hand across in, and now lets McCrary Ball come across, at least I think that's who that is, and make the tackle. Nope, that is an Igbari coming across. And again, we're seeing a lot of these linemen. We don't even have Tavondre Sweat in here yet. We don't have Asai in here yet. I think it's just going to show that if this is the line depth we have, these aren't even all our starters, and they're holding the line of scrimmage, they're filling the gaps, the linebackers are getting to where they need to be, and this is where Sherwood is at his best, when he's next to a linebacker like Davis who can make these plays. David Bailey setting the edge, but that's only part of the story. David Bailey is a big part of the defense, but this secondary is the biggest question mark going forward. You have to click right here to see my breakdown of Andre Sisco's interception and why it means big things for the Jets, especially in light of this pass rush they're able to get.